ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for the Breakfast Bankroll with good friend and colleague, live from Tampa, Scotty Beam 'em up Webb, as we talk some MLB Friday Night Lights. Headliner today, Dodgers and OHTANI invade Boston and Fenway Park, where I am sitting right now. Who wins the series? Right now, Vegas has the Dodgers minus 115, the Red Sox minus 105, basically a pick 'em. If I remember correctly, Shohei's supposed to be pitching on Sunday. Both teams reeling, so if someone gets swept here, could be danger zone, as Kenny Loggins once sang. So first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wine. Promo code STEAKS10. Take 10% off your whole order. Any questions, comments, concerns? Go to Facebook. Reach out to Terry Smith. Follow him. He'll answer you back in 2 seconds, I promise you. So without further ado, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
Hey, man, it's hot down here. 110 degrees, something like that, but that's okay.
We're supposed to get hot. It's only 80 here. I've been up since literally 6:15 I was thinking of you. I was on the deck at 7:30, cup of coffee, smoking a cigar, living the good life, Scotty. There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Other than you want to smoke a cigar. I'm out in the garage because I can't smoke in the house, and I had to go buy a portable air conditioner to at least blow some cold air on me. And other than that, it's not so bad. I run around with my shirt off half the time just because it's too damn hot, man.
We're back from the All-Star break, and, the week of the break and the week after the break, I always like to say, let's tread lightly. I think the Tigers, losers of 4 in a row, 1-9 their last 10. Thank God they had such a big lead. Currently now just 8 games over the Guardians, 9.5 over Kansas City. In the East here, this is just mind-blowing to me. The Toronto Blue Jays now 61-42, 19 games over 500, 4.5 game lead over the Yanks, 6 over the Red Sox. 6.5, excuse me. Here's the funny, Scott. In run differential in the East, let's take the Orioles out of the equation. The Jays are last with the Orioles out, plus 39. The Yankees plus 106. The Red Sox plus 54. Your Rays plus 64. Can they keep this up?
I don't think so. Not without help. They either need Guerrero to start hitting home runs and be a 100 RBI producing type player, or they need to go get some more help on offense. Now I say that, and they're one of the best offenses going right now, but that dynamic won't continue forever. They've got quality starting pitching and they've got a good bullpen. So how they're winning games is they're playing good defense. They're playing like the Cubs do. They play good. They get timely hitting from any position in the batting order. And the other teams they're playing are making mistakes. I mean, the damn Yankees, I think, made 7 errors or something in the 3 games they played, or 4 errors, and they're playing bad baseball. So when you're a team playing good baseball against a team, whether they have better players or not, they're playing bad baseball, you can't beat them. You hit the ball to the shortstop and he throws it over the first baseman's head, you're going to score runs. It's the way it works. I mean, it's amazing, how certain things happen for certain teams. The Guardians are that way. They've been that way for 2 or 3 years. The base runs standings don't like Toronto at all. They're like 7 games they've won that they shouldn't have based off of sequencing of events. So, and then the Yankees have lost 8 games that they should have won based off of sequencing of events. And you can say that sequencing of events stuff until your face is blue. But the reality is it doesn't matter. That's not what the real world is. But that's how you power rank teams. So I still have the Yankees power ranked ahead of the Blue Jays. I have the Red Sox ahead of the Blue Jays, and I have the Blue Jays slightly better than the Rays. That's kind of where I have those teams. What I'm seeing is a little bit of narrowing of the gap in some of that stuff. The Dodgers never really ran away with it, and they probably could have, but they had all those injuries out in the West. The Cubs had such a big lead, and then Milwaukee just, came out of nowhere, and Milwaukee's right there. And then the National League East, you've got the Phillies and the Mets are basically percentage points away from each other. And I still think, the Tigers are a team that played like the Cubs, but they don't have the talent that the Cubs do. So this doesn't surprise me that they're going through it. The reality is if they don't pitch well, they're not, they don't have the guys that sustain offense. Riley Green's been really good for them. Gleyber Torres has been pretty good for them, but they're hit or miss with a lot of their players. Torkelson's hit or miss, Javi Baez hit or miss, all those guys. And they miss, they miss Carpenter. Carpenter's not been playing for a while. So he's a big miss for that team. And in the West, you've got the Astros who are going through it because they're hurt, but they're still putting up runs. And then you got Seattle, who just made a deal last night. So, they got Josh Naylor now. And that's a big boost for them because Josh Naylor's a 300 hitter with, doesn't have the amazing home run numbers, but he's a big RBI guy. And that'll help Cal Raleigh. And Randy Arozarena is starting to get hot. I mean, he's hit, 11 home runs here in the last 15, 20 games. So I have those 2 teams as percentage points away from each other. I don't have the Astros as being that big a favorite over Seattle. And now, you have Seattle with a little bit more offense, makes their lineup a little deeper, then get rid of some of them guys that don't hit. I think that makes that team a lot better. And from what I understand, looking at what I was looking at, Seattle's not done. Like they still are going to be in play for other players. So we'll see what they do.
Like Toronto, and you brought up the Brewers, 61-41, 20 games over 500, just on an amazing run. They finally lost, and usually after a big winning streak and you lose again. No, they didn't, of course. They put a smackdown on Seattle there. Now a 1-game lead over the Cubs. And look at this. They've come from nowhere, from downtown. Plus 98 now, Scotty, on the run differential, and the Cubs now plus 117. And quietly, the Reds 6-4 their last 10, 3 games over 500. Their Cardinals sliding 3-7 their last 10. There and then out west again, the Dodgers playing with their food, 4-6 their last 10. Still a 5-game lead over the Padres, 6 over the Giants, 10 over the Diamondbacks. You talked about Naylor getting moved. I heard there could be 4, 5, maybe even 6 more Diamondbacks moved before Thursday at 6 p.m.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of all of them, fire sale. But that's what I've heard. Now, the Eugenio Suarez thing is out of hand. Like they're gonna try to get a king's ransom for that guy,
and maybe they're not.
I know it's not going to happen that way, but who knows? Major League Baseball is so crazy with how they value things sometimes, and what they want to do for their fan base and publicity and and all that stuff. But what I was looking at, Jeff, especially in the National League, in the wild card, right, and the total, and everybody who's in right now, you got the Brewers, Dodgers, Mets, they're in, and then you got the Cubs, Phillies, and Padres. Those 6 teams are in the playoffs. I really don't think that's going to change. I just don't. The Giants are 1 game back. The Reds are 2 games back. The Cardinals 2.5. Diamondbacks are 5. The Diamondbacks, Marlins, Braves, Pirates, Nationals, Rockies, they're not doing nothing. The Cardinals are going to, they only win at home. They don't ever win on the road. The Padres are the weirdest team ever. They win a game and then lose a game and then win a game and lose a game, and they can never catch the damn. They can never move up, and they just can't. I mean, it just is what it is. And the Giants, I don't think are as good as everybody thought they were. Now they played the last game they played. They scored a lot of runs, and Verlander won a game, that first win of the season for him. So it's kind of like, okay, well, what are the Giants at? Well, we'll see. Webb's pitching tonight, and he hasn't been good in his last 2 starts. And like I always say, he is the most hittable, most beatable of all the elite pitchers that there are, that everybody considers to be elite. He's the guy that you can go get and beat up. Now, that said, I kind of like him tonight. But anyway, the point being is, the Giants are a team that, I don't know where they're going to end up and what they do. So some of this stuff is really going to matter what happens in the next week. What is it, the 30th or 31st or whatever. So the trade deadline's coming. The first deal happened last night, and we'll see. I don't know who's going to get what. Naylor is a guy under contract from I don't think he's a guy that's a rental, unless he just signed a 1-year deal out there. I don't think he did. I didn't look, but it's one of those spots where maybe you can go get some of these kind of players that are under contract and stuff. Like everybody keeps talking about the Pirates. Nobody wants them damn Pirate players. I mean, what the hell? Brian Hayes, are you kidding me? A guy batting 200 and whatever. Oh yeah, change of scenery is going to help that kid. No, it's not. Look, these guys are kind of who they are. Mitch Keller, maybe he could help somebody, but and then they're talking about O'Neal Cruz, right? They're talking about O'Neal Cruz is going to go help somebody. No, he's not. He is like I don't know. Ellie De La Cruz keeps getting better and moving up and doing some different things, getting better and better as a professional player. O'Neal Cruz, he couldn't make it at the shortstop, so they put him in center field, and he can't play center field either. He's a kid that probably has raw talent that they're really going to need to develop him. And maybe he can be a superstar. I don't think so. He's a guy that somebody's going to overpay for, and then they'll be upset when they get him. So it's who knows what's going to happen. Like they keep talking about IKF, right? Kiner Falefa. He's not going to help a team make the playoffs. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that people are talking about. And I keep going, what are you doing, guys? I mean, this is not. Now the Diamondbacks players, they're pretty good. Those guys can help other teams. But you're talking about the Pirates trying to help somebody, and the reason that the Pirates aren't any good is because they have those guys. For God's sakes, they're not a good team. So we'll see what happens. But like the Giants are a team that can use more offense. I do like getting a Naylor because Naylor's got, bat to ball skills. He's not a strikeout guy. He's going to get the ball in play, and that's what Seattle's, known to be needing guys like that because Rosarena strikes out a lot. Rodriguez strikes out all the time, so they don't have a lot of guys that put the ball in play, and he's one that can, and that just makes their lineup that much deeper and harder to get out. I would say to a team to be careful to watch right now is the Texas Rangers. If the Rangers can get a little bit going on offense, which they've started to get a little better, Seager's a little hot right now. They can get, some of these other guys, get Simeon and Adolis Garcia starting to hit just a little bit. They don't have to hit like crazy. They just got to hit more on a consistent basis. The Wyatt Langfords and the Smiths of the world out there, those guys can do some stuff because they can pitch. And that's a team that can sneak their way into the wild card. And if they get in, you got to go through Evaldi and DeGrom, and they're going to get John Gray back this week. So, John Gray's going to pitch, and then you don't have to throw Kamar Rocker, or you don't have to throw, whoever you want to take out of the lineup, whether it's Leiter or Rocker or Corbin. Corbin's he's been a godsend for that team. He really has. I mean, he's been good. I don't know what to say. I mean, Happy Patrick Corbin Day is no longer available. It's not that anymore. It's happy anybody that pitches for the Colorado Rockies Day. I don't know.
Speaking of that, Rich Hill at 45 makes a comeback. Full slate, big games, big series. I'm going to go through a few series prices. I'm going to bring it right up front here, Scotty, so you can have your way with it. Just talking out loud here for some series prices. Arizona, Pittsburgh, a pick'em. Yankees minus 120 over Philadelphia. Philly at plus 100. Like I said in the opener, Dodgers minus 15, Red Sox minus 105. Your Tampa Bay Rays at Cincinnati, both minus 110. Texas minus 150, Braves plus 130. Kansas City minus 135 over the Guardians at plus 115. And San Francisco minus 115, Mets minus 105. Any of those series jump out at you?
Well, what did you say Arizona was?
Arizona, pick 'em, minus 110 both sides.
Yeah, so Arizona is going to be favored today in the matchup that they have. Nelson's been really good, and if anybody knows anything about Ryan Nelson throws, really super hard, and he's got decent stuff. And he's facing Burrows today, and Burrows is, he's better than a AAA guy, but he's not much better. So I think that, in the way the Arizona offense is going, I think they have a good chance to carry forward what they've been doing and win the first game. And then the next game is I think it's Merrill Kelly, right? Let's see, Merrill Kelly against Andrew Heaney, and Andrew Heaney's been getting shelved. So I think they'll be favored in that game and probably win that game. And then, I don't know what the next game is. It's probably a Skeens Day. Let's see. It would be Pirates. Where's the Pirates? There they are. Yeah, it's a Gallon against Skeens, and Skeens will win that one. So I don't have a problem with people wanting to think Arizona's going to beat this team because they should beat them 2 out of 3, especially with those pitching matchups. They don't have great bullpen, and Pittsburgh does. Pittsburgh is a couple games over 500 as a home team. But Arizona's been, not the worst away team in the world. They hit everywhere they go. So I think Arizona would be something that's a good matchup here. And, the other thing that I still can't get through is the Dodgers are not the Dodgers on the road. They're not the same team. And, it's like today's game. The Dodgers are slight favorites, right? I mean, I like minus 115, minus 120 or something. Well, Bello has been pitching better than Sheehan has. The problem here so the Red Sox were hot hitting, and then they've run into the Phillies and I forget who they played before that, but the Cubs.
The Cubs.
They've run into good pitching, and now that they've run into some good pitching, they're not hitting. And the question becomes is when the Dodgers come in, the Dodgers don't have good pitching. So can Boston really hit, and can they hit at home? And if they can, I think that the Red Sox will beat the Dodgers. I don't care if Shohei pitches; he's going to throw 2 innings. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like he's going to throw 2 innings, and then they're going to throw Dustin May, who they're willing to trade. So if they're going to, you know what I mean? Like they're going to throw these guys at the Red Sox tomorrow. I think Kershaw pitches, and I don't mean anything in disrespect to Kershaw, but he's not Kershaw from 10 years ago when he's the most dominant left-handed pitcher ever. He's a 40-some-year-old pitcher that throws a bunch of curveballs up there and tries to get you out. So if the Red Sox can hang in there, I think Giolito will probably pitch. Right? What's the matchups for that? Where is it? Dodgers, May and Buehler on Sunday. Well, that's probably Shohei then and Buehler, right? And then the Dodgers. Where's the Dodgers? There they are. Saturday. Kershaw and Crochet. Well, that's no matchup. Kershaw's going to lose. If Bello can beat Sheehan today, they're going to win that series. You know what I mean? Like, and then they still have a shot on Sunday to win. So I don't think there's any issues with taking the Red Sox. They're a small dog in that series, right?
Yeah, minus 105.
And Boston's got a couple games over 500 record at home. And the Dodgers, I think, where's my numbers? The Dodgers on the road, Dodgers, where are you? Dodgers. The Dodgers are 25-22 on the road, which is good because, it's a winning record. Not many teams have a winning record on the road. But they're not a dominant team. Like if you look at their weighted runs created plus on offense on the road, that number is Dodgers in the is minus 1%. They're less than an average team on the road. And Boston gets a little lift. They're plus 12 at home. So Boston likes to play at home. Boston likes to hit at home. The Dodgers are an average team on the road. And if you can get quality pitching against an average offense, you're going to beat them. So I don't have any problem with people wanting to say like Boston. I think it'll be interesting, this Mets matchup with the Giants, because the Giants have to win tonight's game. If they don't win tonight's game, then it's a toss-up all the way through that series, because it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with the Giants at home. The Giants don't have a big home field edge. You might think they would just because of kind of where they play, but they really don't. Their at home lift is -3. That's not good. You can't have -3% to an average offense at home. And the Mets, they're just average on the road. And in terms of record, 22-28 for the Mets on the road. That's not good. So the Mets offense is terrible on the road. So the Mets team is terrible on the road. So you would think that if the Giants were going to do anything, they need to beat the Mets. And the other one that that's a big deal, or at least for the Yankees, they got to do something against the Phillies. And the reason I say that is because they can't keep losing ground. If they keep losing ground, I don't think that they're going to run into a problem of not making the playoffs or whatever. But they need to stay in and get some momentum going, because they played bad baseball. And when you play bad baseball, you get beat up, and they get beat up in the press, and your manager takes all kinds of heat and stuff, and he gets thrown out of games for arguing with pit balls and strikes and tries to deflect all that stuff, which is good for him. But I mean, it doesn't really it doesn't really help your team. At some point, they got to make a decision. They got to get a third baseman because you can't have that whatever the hell a goddamn guy's name is, playing third base that bats 160 on the Yankees, and then the other guy that plays over there, and then their shortstop isn't doing much better. So their left side of that defense has been obviously bad on defense, but also can't hit. So and then they sit Stanton half the time, and now they're sitting Goldschmidt a lot, and it doesn't make sense to me what they do. Like the first game of the series in Toronto, one of the guys that's the hottest hitters that they have is Bellinger. Well, he's not playing. We'll set him on the bench today. It doesn't make any sense to me how certain teams try to attack all this stuff. Oh, we got to rest our guys. We got to do this. Yeah, I get it. Rest them against when you're playing the A's or somebody. Don't rest them against the team that you're trying to catch. I mean, that you put your best lineup out there, and obviously you don't really have too much control of your rotation. You do it to a degree, but not much. And because they're going to pitch every 5 days, you can move them around a little bit, a day or two here or there to try to set something up if you wanted to. But that's just the weirdest thing to me is how these teams approach these games, and maybe they don't think the series are important yet. You know what I mean? Like it's still July. They got August and September to go. So maybe they don't think they're that important yet. I don't know. As a person that I sit here and watch these things, every game matters to these teams that are excuse me. These teams that are in the playoff run, every game, and they just don't act like it.
I'm going to bring you front and center. You can pick a few games, pick and choose. We're about 28 minutes in. Give yourself 10, 15 minutes, however long your voice holds up or how long you want to go. I'll be here. Give me the tap in sign and I'll come back.
All right, no worries. I did a lot of this work last night, so I think we're in pretty good shape on most of these games. Now, one of the things I haven't done is I haven't made any bets, and I haven't really vetted them. So maybe we'll vet some of this stuff out right here, right now. So my numbers are telling me, just looking at my sheet here, the first game that plays today is Miami Milwaukee, and the numbers come out my bet score combined with my lines that I make tell me that Milwaukee has a 44% chance to cover the bet. Well, it's a minus 225, right? So who wants to pay minus 225? So we need to look at that game and see, can we play a different way? So I have to look at that. So let's look at my bet score numbers. And in the pitching format, you have Peralta today against Quantrill. Now, Peralta's been as good as it gets for that team. He scores, and the way my bet score program works is it takes key categories and assigns points to them. So if the first one is Sierra number, anything under 4, right? So he's a 3.19 in the last 30 days. So he gets 15 points for that. Game score last 7 is 53 or more. So you got to be better than average. Well, he's a 59, so he gets 10 points for that. His win percent added, so he needs to be in the positive numbers there. So that means when the key components of the game are happening, is he winning those moments? And the answer is yes, 0.44. So he gets 5 points for that. And the last one that I look at is home runs allowed. Look, 40%, a little bit more than 40% of all runs scored, all of them in Major League Baseball are scored because of home runs. So your pitcher needs to prevent home runs, and your offense needs to hit them. So in this case, he is a 0.63. So anything under 1 home run is great. So he hits every one of those boxes. He gets every point. But Quantrill on the other side, he's a 3.74. Did you know that? Cal Quantrill is a 3.74 under 4 Sierra number. He gets 15 points too. And then he gets points for the WPA. He doesn't get points for the game score, and he doesn't get points for home runs. So you have a little bit of an advantage for the pitcher. Not much, but a little. And then offensively, I'm looking for a bunch of different levels here, but it comes down to where the score in the first five is 45-20. So that means that, Milwaukee's doubled up on Miami there. And then the bullpen gives Milwaukee a few extra points, and then they get a little bit extra in, what I call the ancillary stuff, like against right-handed pitchers, the home field advantage, stuff like that. So they come out way ahead, but it kind of builds and builds just a little bit. So I don't think it's a great edge to be betting Milwaukee here on the run line, especially or in the first 5 innings. So vetting that game, right? I just vetted the game. I'm gonna pass on that game, even though there's a lot of good things here. If I were to go and tell you that, Peralta has tons of green on his pitching performance, and Quantrill is white, which means green is in the top 25% of all of baseball. White is average, so that puts you between 26 and 75, and red is 76 and beyond. So he is good through most of that stuff. Quantrill is white, Peralta's green. You got an advantage there. Peralta's off of a game score 39, so he should throw really well. And Quantrill's off a game score 74, so he should get hit, right? So there's reasons why you might want to look at Milwaukee, but the line's too high. I'm just going to pass on that game. That Nelson Burrows game between Arizona and Pittsburgh, I have a slight edge, 18%. Well, it's actually 22. 22% edge to Arizona. The Profit X number was minus 118 for Arizona. My number is minus 129. So I think there's some value to Arizona today. I don't want to bet Arizona today on the road off of their major trade. I don't know what the clubhouse is going to look like. I don't know what their lineup's going to look like. Now, if the lineup looks halfway decent and they fill in first base with somebody, I don't know who they're going to put there, but they fill in somebody there and that it looks halfway decent, then maybe you sit there and you do a half a bet or something on Arizona. I like Nelson. I think Nelson's pretty good. I don't like Burrows. I think Burrows is pretty bad. And if you look at the starting pitchers here and situationally, Nelson started 11 games, and there's 7-4 in his starts. But his OPS plus is an 80 in his last 28 days. So that means he's 20% better than average at holding opponents' offenses down. And then Burrows is a 118. So theoretically, he's 18% worse. So you got a big gap there. And Burrows is not good at night, and he's not good at home. So this kind of tells me that Arizona's in a pretty good spot here. So, maybe they're maybe worth a half a point. And then when I looked at the bet score numbers here, you got a slight edge to the pitcher, Nelson. Both of them are over 4 when it comes to the Sierra numbers. Nobody gets points there. Game score for the last 7 for Ryan Nelson's a 57. That's pretty good. So he gets points for that. And both of them get points for WPA. And that's it. So it's 15-5 when it comes out of the pitching. And then offense is all Diamondbacks. So it comes 30-10. So that's pretty good. That's not too bad. And then bullpen goes all Pittsburgh. It's all Pittsburgh, so they get points in the bullpen, and then the ancillary stuff all goes to Arizona. They're better against right-handed pitchers, and they're better on the road. They just hit everywhere. So I think this is one of those spots where I sit there and I go, bet score came out 38-25. That's pretty close. I'm going to pass on that game. Philadelphia and New York, interesting game. Probably good for a lot of people. Philadelphia and New York pitcher-wise, this is Warren against Walker. No points for either one. Neither pitcher hits the mark. On any category, They both give up more home runs. They both have negative WPA. They're both in the 40s on last game, scoring a 7, and they're both over 4. So that tends to lead to offense. And then when you look at the offense, that goes to the Phillies. The Phillies have weighted runs created plus of 111, means they're 11% better than average offense. And the Yankees are 96, so they're 4% worse. So a little bit better for them. Runs scored is even. WPA kind of goes to the Yankees. And then there's a category here that I use that I think is important. This just talks about getting guys on base. If you can walk at an 8% or higher number and strike out less than 22, that tends to mean that you get guys on base and you move the ball around. Well, the Phillies are in that category. The Yankees are not. The Yankees don't have enough walk rate, and they both are hitting home runs at a high level. Bullpen is all Philadelphia, which normally it isn't that way. Philadelphia has a ton of points here. My problem with this game is, what do you do with Ty Walker? Well, you hope, and here was another interesting thing about this game that I looked at. Taijuan Walker, T1 Walker, has only pitched 4 innings. He doesn't go deep in the games. So this is going to be, no matter what happens, a bullpen game after 4 innings. So, and Warren on the other side, he's got good stuff. His stuff grades out 98. So, pretty much right in there with most people. He's not in there with the elite stuff. I mean, but he's got good stuff. But his numbers have been really bad. 4.79 xFIP, 5.18 Sierra, 6.09 FIP. He's been getting hit. The batting average against him is 284, and guys on base 182. He threw a 23 and a 42, 65, and then a 3. So he hasn't been good as of late. But he's better at home than he is on the road. He's better at night than he is during the day. And we'll have to just see what the Phillies are made of when they come into town, because the Yankees are gettable. I just don't know if I really want to put my money on Walker. But at the same time, I tell you that, I think that my numbers will tell you that Philadelphia is the better bet. You don't bet the Yankees today. If you're going to bet them, you bet Philadelphia. My number was minus 149, and Profit X was minus 146, so it's pretty close. So I just left this one out. I think it's the better way to go. Colorado, Baltimore, I'm not going to go there. However, I would tell you that Dean Kramer is he's better than what you think he is, and he's dynamite at home. It's just, how do you bet these big lines? Minus 188 against Colorado. I have it minus 200, so it's not that far off. So these Colorado Rockies are not very good. Baltimore's not really hitting, but they play Freeland today. And you know what's really interesting about Freeland? He's the best pitcher that the Rockies have, and this will kind of tell you what's going on. Freeland's the best pitcher that they have. His batting average that he gives up is 267. His guys on base are 152. His last 30 in xWOBA, so predicted weighted on base average, is 0.378. 0.378, 1, 2, 3. There's 4 guys worse than him today out of 30 pitchers. So he gets hit all the time. He's not a strikeout guy. So Baltimore's going to hit the ball, and it's at home, and Kramer is really good. So I think this is one of those spots where you either play Baltimore on the run line or you pass. The next one is Berrios and Montero. Look, this is a matchup of the number 1 offense in baseball against the number 30 offense in baseball right now. The Detroit Tigers are number 30 in offense. So if I look at that, where are they? Detroit in the last 7 days, they have scored 13 runs and hit 5 home runs. And the Toronto Blue Jays, they've scored 45 runs and hit 8 home runs. They are 147. So that means they're 47% better than an average offense. And the Detroit Tigers are negative 44%. That means they're like 56 or something on weighted runs created plus. That's bad. They're not scoring any runs. And a great way to look at that is betting value runs above average. So if you took that number and other things and said, to an average offense, how many runs better or ones worse are you? Well, Toronto is 14.4 runs better, and the Detroit Tigers are 12 runs worse. That's a 26-run gap between the two teams on offense. You can't make that up in pitchers unless Scubal's on the mound. And this is Montero on the mound against Barrios. Now, I get it. Barrios isn't the greatest pitcher in the world, but he's better than average, and he's better than Montero. And right now, Toronto's bullpen is better than Detroit's. So I think that, where's my sheet at? I'm showing that you got 33% edge here with Toronto. I think Toronto's a good bet. I like it. Now, I don't like the fact that the Toronto won yesterday, so they're going to have to win again today. And Montero is probably he's a little better maybe than his numbers reflect, but he's not very good. Anyway, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, I thought was interesting because in my mind, I think Tampa Bay is a better team than Cincinnati, but my number came out Cincinnati minus 117. And Profit X has Tampa Bay minus 106. So I thought, well, that's probably where I was going to end up, but it didn't. The sabermetric world likes Nick Martinez. He gets graded out pretty high, and they don't like Lytle as well. But this is one of those spots where, I don't know how meaningful this series is, the Ohio Cup stuff, whatever. So Tampa Bay has not been good. Tampa Bay, situationally, they are 3-7 the last 10, but it goes beyond that. They're 6-14 in their last 20. So I don't like it. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, if I had to play this game, because I think it's a coin flip game, if I had to play it, I would probably play Cincinnati at home. Sheehan and the Dodgers and the Red Sox. This is interesting. Bello's been really good. His SOPS plus is a 69 over his last 30 days. Sheehan is a 125. So he's 25% worse than average. And Bello's been good. Bello's been good at home. He's an 87. And at night he's an 87. Sheehan's only pitched, 3 or 4 times, and most of them have been at night. And he's a 166 at night. So evidently his stuff is easier to see at night, and he gets hit at night. So I kind of like the idea here that I said this before, that I think that you can get in on Boston. Boston offensively has been bad, so it just depends on whether they can hit tonight. But you got to take a shot at it somewhere, and they're a small home dog. You might as well take them. The Dodgers aren't the same team on the road, so I kind of liked it. I think you got a better pitching matchup, and you certainly got a better bullpen. And here's one thing you probably don't know. Against right-handed pitching, the Dodgers have not been the greatest team in the world. They actually show pretty poor. So I weighted runs created plus wise anyway. So I think that's one of the things, and I look at that over the last month. I don't look at it for the history of the year. And in the last month, they are minus 20% to an average offense against right-handed pitchers, the Dodgers. So that tells me they need they need more than Shohei Ohtani on the left-hand side of the batter's box. So I kind of like Boston in that spot. I like San Diego too, but that's a big number today, right? What's the number in the San Diego game? San Diego's minus one. It's not that bad. It's minus 136. You're not going to find too many pitchers better than Nick Pivetta has been. Nick Pivetta, let me give you numbers on Nick Pivetta just for a second. Nick Pivetta, his game score over the last 7 is 64.6. Look, aces throw 60. And he's a 64.6. Over his last 7 starts, that's pretty good. For the season, he's a 59. He has the lowest xFIP and Sierra numbers of the day, 2.94, 2.85. His FIP is 2.2. Strikeouts are 10.34 per 9 innings. His walk rate's 1.72, and he doesn't give up home runs. His batting average against is 162, and guys on base whip rate is 0.77. All elite, all of it. So they need this game, and he's going to pitch against Miles Michaelis today. Whatever. Give me San Diego. I don't care. I'll take them. Offensively, you have San Diego and St. Louis. St. Louis ranks 10th. They just played Colorado, and they played one good game here against the Padres, so they scored a lot of runs yesterday. And the Padres are ranked 18th. So I sit there and I look at that and I go, that's the struggle with the Padres. They're an average offense. But when they have elite pitching, they win games. And I think they have elite pitching against Miles Michaelis today. So I kind of like that one. And then you have, look, this one is a crazy too. The Cubs and the White Sox. I'm not telling you about White Sox. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But I'm going to tell you Hauser is 7-3 and starts for the White Sox. How many games have the White Sox won? 30? You're right. I don't think they've won 40 yet. 30-something? 30? If he's won 7, that means he's won almost 25% of the games that they have as a whole team. And he hasn't even been there the whole time. So Hauser's been really good. Imaniga, he's good too, but his stuff isn't. So he's just a good pitcher. So the White Sox are the number 2 offense in baseball right now. You know that they've scored 49 runs in the last 7 games, the White Sox? 6 games. They're scoring 8 runs a game, the White Sox. That's more than almost any of these teams. I would tell you to stay off of it. Don't bet this game at all. Don't get messed up with the Cubs. Atlanta and Texas, interesting matchup because Texas should dominate this game. But they don't hit left-handed pitching, and that's what they're going to face today. Joey Wentz is not a good pitcher, but he pitched good the last time out. I would tell you Texas is going to win. Evaldi's really, really, really good, and Atlanta doesn't play good at all on the road. That their record, the Atlanta Braves record on the road, if I can find it, there it is. Atlanta's road record is 18-31. That's it, 18-31. They can't win on the road, so I think Texas will win this game. I just don't want to. What was the number in this game? There it is. So the line's minus 152. There's better spots out there to play. And then you got the A's and the Astros. When I did this last night, they didn't have a listed pitcher, but it's Ryan Gusto pitching for Houston. I lined this game at minus 170. That's 150. And Gusto's been average. Springs is an average pitcher. But look, the Astros are good at home, and they like left-handed pitching. The Astros against left-handed pitching, they are haven't seen them a whole lot. Where is it? There it is. 16 games. They're 11-5 in those 16 games. And offensively, they are against left-handed pitching. They're plus 18%. So that's pretty good. And at home, they have an advantage. They're plus 6%. So I think that's pretty good, but I'm not going to go there. The line's too high. Bad pitching. Cleveland, Kansas City. This is, in my opinion, all Kansas City. Walker's a better pitcher than Williams. Williams is either good or he's bad. And his last start for Williams, let me tell you, Williams, where is Williams? Williams is off a game score 79. And then the previous start was a 35. And then he had a 75, and then a 35, and then a 39, and then a 71, and then a 34, right? That's what he is. I'm going to get you out every time I throw out that, or you're going to hit me and I'm going to get killed. Well, he just had a good game. So let's look at this and go, yep, Royals are going to probably win this game. Royals aren't good at home, but Cleveland's not good on the road. They're not good on the road at all. So I would stay away from that one. This one was interesting to me. Gore against W. Matthews. W. Matthews can pitch. He's been hit around a little bit. Minnesota's hitting. Washington's kind of in the middle against Gore. Now Gore's been really good, especially at the beginning of the season, but he's faltered as of late. So I think this is one of those spots where you might be getting a pretty good line here. My number on this game for Minnesota, I have Minnesota minus 114. The number's 138, but the bet score came out and it's all Minnesota, nothing for Washington, all their offense. I think even at 138 is a good number. My numbers are saying, hey, it's 31% advantage to the Minnesota Twins. So that's a bet, right? And that's where you want to go. And that all comes from offense, by the way. So if you went and looked at this and you pull up Minnesota offensively, they're number 3 right now in offense. They're 7 in isolated power, so they're doing good with home runs, doubles, triples, that kind of stuff. Weighted runs created plus, they're 29% better than average offense. And Washington is minus 1, so they're average. They walk a lot, 12% walk rate, and betting value runs, they're 8.3 runs better than average. And right now, when you look at Washington, they're minus 0.3, so they're average. Washington's an average offense going against a decent pitcher, and you have an elite offense going against a pitcher who's been getting hit. And the Twins have been hitting left-handed pitching, so they are 33% better than an average offense against left-handed pitching. Like it. So it's just a number that's kind of out there. And then the last 2 games, Seattle. I think this is one of those spots where Seattle's pretty good on the road, and the Angels, they're not really good at home. Angels are better away team than they are a home team in terms of betting. Soriano's been good, but Brandon Wu's been, he's been lights out. Now, Brandon Wu is a much better home pitcher than he is away pitcher. But this is one of those spots, I think, where you have to stay with Seattle. I think the number's too high, though. The number's minus 138. I had it at 136, so maybe it's not too high. It's about the same. And then the last game, I have the Giants minus 139. The Profit X had them 125 this morning. Even though Webb doesn't get a lot of points on the mound, it's all offense. San Francisco started hitting. And when San Francisco's hitting, they're pretty good. And the Mets are not a good road team. The Mets on the road, by the way, they are 22-28. That's a division leading team that's 22-28. So that tells you, like, the Mets are going to win home games. So, if you can beat them 2 out of 3 on the road, that's pretty good. So that's kind of where they are. And Holmes is not the greatest pitcher in the world. He's not a big strikeout guy. So I kind of like the idea here that you have you have Webb, who's getting a good price against the Mets. So anyway, if I was going to bet today, which I haven't made any bets, I guess the way I would do this is I would probably go San Francisco and Toronto today for sure, and then maybe sprinkle in some other stuff, and hope that you come out and you can do it again tomorrow and have a good day. So anyway, Jeff, that's kind of where I stand on today's breakdown of these games. Not going deep into any of them. I mean, if somebody asks a question, I can certainly ask.
Well, great job as always. Big slate. Obviously, my eyes will be glued on Fenway here. See if we can win 2 out of 3, especially with Crochet now in the middle. And the initial beginning of the week had Shohei pitching on Sunday, so it looks like they might have maneuvered a little there. So
Shohei opens for May.
Oh, okay.
So so they have listed May, but
it'll be Shohei.
But it'll probably be Shohei for 2 innings, and then here comes May. Now, I don't know if they're going to build Shohei up to 3 innings yet, or whatever. But look, don't be afraid of Shohei OHTANI on the mound. I mean, I get it; he's a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong. But if he's only out there for 2 or 3 innings, who cares? It is what it is. The first batter of the game for the Twins took him deep, so. It's not like It's not like he's going to go out there and strike everybody out, because he's not. he's a good pitcher, and I'm not trying to discredit Shohei Ohtani. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. But don't be afraid of Shohei Ohtani either. He's pitched in the league for years, and he gets rocked some of these games. Some of the times he's really good. He's got no hitters. He's got no one hitters and stuff like that. And he's not a Cy Young pitcher. He's a great pitcher, but he's not Ty Skubal out there.
And I'll close with this. I've been telling anyone that wants to listen for weeks upon weeks that, yes, we all know the Padres wanted Duran. Yes, the Red Sox have a surplus of outfielders. And I kept telling everyone it's up to the Red Sox, and Dylan Cease is a part of this trade. Because why? He's in a walk year. So in other words, you're getting a rental. They're getting a guy under control for 2 to 3 years. So it's Cease, and then what are they putting in for prospects? It was brought up today that yes, it was Cease and a couple prospects. The Red Sox immediately said no. So my point is, again, we're back to where we've been the last 2 or 3 years, Scotty. We've been here fighting in the wild card spot now, and Cora and company has not gotten the people they want or need at the deadline, and then they have played subpar 500 the rest of the year as Cora sulks and stuff. If I'll just say this out loud to you, if they don't get him the needed players or people that they're looking for, then I think the battle is officially over. I think the GM has won this battle, and I will say, even though he's still got an extension left, Cora will be walking at the end of this year / next year.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess Joey Cora was thought of before that suspension or whatever for a year or whatever the hell all that was about. He was thought of one of the best managers in baseball. He was, and now he's come back, and I don't think he's thought of that way anymore. I just don't. So I don't mean that in a mean way or disrespectful way to Boston or towards fans of Cora either. But I think other people have surpassed him and what he's done. And people thought Aaron Boone was a great manager. I think Aaron Boone sucks. I think what Aaron Boone's really good at? Aaron Boone is really good at dealing with media and the bull crap of the pressure of all the New York Yankees. That's what he's good at, because he deflects everything and does all the stuff, and he's been in the media himself. So I think he's good at that. But I don't think he's a good on-field manager. I don't think he puts good lineups together, and I don't know if he's even in charge of that. Sometimes that all comes down from the general manager, but I don't think Cashman does any of that stuff. I think Cashman just goes and says, I'll get you the groceries, you go do whatever you need to do. And I think Boston is in a spot where, they can do a lot here. Like, I know Buehler pitched a good game the last time, but, you got to get Buehler out of there and get somebody in there that's going to make a difference. And, think about it this way. When I looked at Fangraphs this morning, looking at these pictures, Crochet he's a 6.1 WAR guy. Okay. Skubal is the only one higher than him. So your next guy is Bello on that list. He's 1.6 WAR guy. That's the gap. You need a guy in between there that's a 2 or a 3 WAR guy. And here's I keep thinking about this. Adrian Hauser's pitching today. Now I get it. He's older. He pitches for the White Sox. Dude, the White Sox are 7-3 in his starts. 7-3 when he pitches. He is a 2.3 WAR guy. 2.3 WAR guy. What's it going to cost to get that guy? Nothing. It's not going to cost nothing to get Adrian Hauser. I mean, compared to Dylan Cease, right? So if you were to get an Adrian Hauser, he becomes the second best pitcher the Red Sox have. I don't mean that disrespectfully in any way, but I'm just trying to put perspective out there for people to understand. Like when you look at things in terms of data, numbers, how the quality of players are, you know, you can find some of these guys that will help your team, and you know that's way better than a Walker Bueller who is like a negative WAR guy right now. He's not even a positive number, Jeff, which means you could call up a AAA guy and start the AAA guy, and that's better, right? I mean, you still got Fitz on the mound and stuff. You need to get a guy in there, and I think Adrian Hauser. It wouldn't be just the Red Sox. He'll fit any team. He's better than most of the pitchers on some of those teams. He's not better than any Philadelphia Philly pitcher. All those guys are good. I mean, he's better than Walker today, but he's not. Some of these teams like the Yankees, right? The Yankees have two guys at the top. Fried and Rodon, and then this Warren kid. Well, the Warren kid, he's a 2-WAR player, but so is Adrian Hauser. And then what do they got after that? Well, after that they got the little tiny midget guy. They got Stroman. What are you going to do with that guy, Stroman? I get it. Stroman's been good. Don't get me wrong. He's helped the Yankees in his couple of starts since he's come back, but he's not a guy you can rely on down the stretch, right? They need, who's coming for the Yankees that'll help the Yankees? Luis Gil's coming. He's pitching in AAA right now. He's probably got 1 or 2 more rehab starts to go, and then he's going to come up and he's going to help that team. So Luis Gil will be a big addition to the Yankees, and I don't know what else they're going to do. But say they make that deal with Arizona. I'm just making this shit up. But say they make that deal with Arizona and they get Gallen, and then they get Eugenio Suarez, and Luis Gil comes on. That's pretty good, And even though that you lost Garrett Cole, you lost Schmidt, right? These guys that are you were depending on to be top-notch guys for yourself. They replaced them with Gallen and Luis Gil comes up. I think that's pretty good for them, and they don't have to throw the stupid stuff that they got out there, and then they don't have to play that Yorbeat, whatever the hell his name is, at third base. They can play somebody who's decent, and then all of a sudden your team's a little deeper. I don't know if it's any better, but it's a little deeper. You have a better pitching advantage every time you go out, and I still think some of these teams. I'm looking at bullpen numbers. These teams need better bullpens, especially the ones that are kind of in the run here. The bullpen numbers aren't as good as I was kind of expecting from some of these. The Yankees' bullpen's not been good. Williams has been decent, but other than that, they don't have anybody to get the ball to them. And that's how Toronto beat them. Of course, they hit the ball and the Yankees couldn't field it. But, you run into all of this stuff as you go down the line. Everybody can use more bullpen. And then you can sit there and go, I need a over 2 WAR guy. Well, Hauser's right there. Go get him, but I don't think they're going to. I don't think anybody's even looking at have you ever seen his name mentioned? I've never seen his name mentioned one time. And I sit there and go, I don't know. They've won 30 games. He's won 25% of the games that they've played, and he didn't even start with them. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell?
Me and Scotty will be back Monday morning. Check the timeline, check the tweet. Don't know if we'll be back at 9 or we'll be back at 10:30. I will be with Andrew McGinnis.
10:30 on Monday.
10:30 on Monday it is. I will be on with Andrew McGinnis at McGinnis Picks at Wager Talk in exactly 5 minutes. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Wish everyone a blessed morning. Stay tuned, and we will be back soon.